I'm Harry.
And I'm Richard Ricardo the third.
The third?
Mm-hmm.
That's too many. We need to call some of them bitches.
Definitely.
Fuck you guys. It's Dead Decks.
Dead Decks. Yeah, buddy. All right, buddy. Yeah. Yeah, buddy, it is. Sorry, I was drinking. I couldn't talk.
Yeah. Still here. Still doing things. We'll eventually quit.
Yeah, probably. Well, one of us will die at some point.
I'm going to live forever, unfortunately.
No, I'm going to fall over dead. Maybe any minute now.
Yeah.
Could be before this video's over.
Let's hope.
Well, when are you going to ask me what we're talking about today?
Oh, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about some interesting abilities and cards from Hyborian Gates.
Oh, Hyborian Gates.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of the genesis of what started all this.
Yep.
And it was just mainly looking through the card names. We just found them hilarious and kind of got us talking about cards again, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And
Yep.
we've briefly touched on Hyborian Gates on this channel. We haven't done a whole lot with it. We do plan to do more. Plan to get a little more into game stuff, so stick with us or don't.
Yeah, we pretty much finished breaking apart the rules, getting them into some kind of readable format, and identifying all the ambiguities and all that is
Yeah.
pretty good shape. So yeah, there are some. I mean, as much as they just cranked this game out, and it's a lot of ways pretty shitty, they did at least try to do some interesting things with mechanics. Probably they only resulted in breaking the game, but
Yeah, well, and some of the cards we're going to show you here should become pretty apparent, especially if you're thinking along, Magic's rules and kind of how they would operate. Of course, they're different games and they play differently, but the things that can be done with a couple of these cards together they just look like they would be absolute game breakers completely. Yeah. Once those two cards are established on the board or played, then the game's over.
yeah, that may even be a few of those, but
we just got a handful here.
It's a quick recap on the gameplay. Your the object of the game, the sole victory condition, is controlling the most dimensions in the center. So basically, their locations. You move your creatures, troopers and monsters is what they call creatures. Move them onto them, and that's controlling. So if you're sitting there, you control it if it's your creature. So you control a certain number of those, you win the game. That's the whole game. So you want to defeat them if they're sitting on it, kick their ass off, and control as many as you can. So that matters for what some of these abilities do to understand what's going on. First one to talk about Amber Tide. This is not as powerful, but intriguing. It reverse the attack and defense values of all troopers until end of turn. So presumably all is literally that. All of them everywhere on all dimensions and other locations and all that stuff. So
I don't remember the... never mind.
Well, I don't remember either then.
Yep.
Yeah, that one's not as powerful, I don't think, but you have to look more at the attack and defense values.
Yeah, and how when you can play that and how interrupts versus instance versus, whatever, all that shit.
Yeah, now these are power surges. What the rule says is can be played at any time. That's obviously not helpful. If you have any familiarity with these kind of games and timing at all, any time isn't helpful.
Yeah, does it supersede or does it come after something or just
stack?
Can
you
like
do it in response
now?
Yeah. There is, of course, no illusion to that.
No.
So good fucking luck figuring out when you play it.
Good fucking luck.
Crimson Ice. Cause any two dimension cards to switch place. So, again, with the mechanics, you're taking a gate and you can travel to one primary dimension and two secondaries. The way the gate's lined up. Well, this is you can take any two dimensions and just completely flip them. So screw up your opponent's ability to transport to the gate they want to transport to. Yeah, and just generally fuck shit up. So that's not the only card. There's another one we'll get to as well. But the fact that they added some dimension manipulation to the game is pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. New Growth, another power surge. Retrieve one card from the discard pile for each card you discard. That would be presumably from your hand. Up to five cards. That is as broken as it sounds. Holy shit! If this were in Magic, it'd probably be banned.
Yeah. If you just dump cards out of your hand, and these don't really have. There's no casting cost for this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's if you got two of these, you can have two of a card in your deck unless specified otherwise. So if you have two of these and and there's another card you will see later that you could combine with that if you needed that second one to get to it, and you can just whip through your deck in no time. So dump 1 for 1 up to 5. That's especially when you can pull another one of those out and keep doing it. Incredibly powerful.
And there's some powerful hand drawing stuff we'll get to as well. That in conjunction with this, you can plow through some cards.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be difficult to get both of these in play. But yeah, retrieve 1 card for every 5 you discard. That is nuts.
No, it's 1 for 1, isn't it? Up to 5.
Right. Yeah. Up to 5.
1 for 1. Which if it's 1 for 5 or 5 for 1 maybe, that would soften that up quite a bit. But
yeah, if you discard 5 to get 1, then it's a pretty bullshit card. But
you bet a 1 for 1 trade off with no kind of casting cost or anything.
Yeah.
What kind of card is it?
It's a power surge.
Power surge. You play it anytime?
Yep, play it anytime.
Shit.
Yeah, no, there's another timing thing you'd have to consider here. Presumably, though, I would say this isn't in the discard pile. You can't retrieve itself, right?
Yeah.
This would be sitting in stasis somewhere as you're casting it. So
you did have a second copy of that.
Yeah. I think that part's at least pretty intuitive.
Yeah.
It shouldn't work that way at all, because in your 1 card, you've got an infinite loop.
Right. Yeah, you would need 2 of them, but again, with some of these other cards we'll get to here in a second, it wouldn't take much to get those 2 in sync and start plowing through a deck.
Yeah. Yep. So there's another one, Knight's Cloak. This is some more of that dimension manipulation. This card becomes a dimension placed between any 2 other dimensions. So you can add 1, shift some further apart, and have another one for potentially gaining control of in your victory condition. I think there's some pretty cool stuff that can probably be done with that.
Mm-hmm.
Victory's Grasp is yet another power surge, which, as you figured out by this list, if you look at the master card list, which we have pretty much done and we'll be uploading if it isn't on the website.
It's not up yet, but it'll be there. It may be up there by the time you see this. So check over at deaddex.com and send us an email or tell us to die or something.
That is, Power Surge is the card type where most of the power lies in this game. There are some crazy powerful cards in there. So Victory's Grasp, played at the beginning of a battle. Loser is forced to discard their hand at the end of it. So if your creature's about to defeat one of theirs, you can, by the way, you lose your hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's freaking crazy.
Which, as long as you didn't have, I guess if you had both those cards, that one we mentioned earlier about your discard loop, there'd be one way to neutralize that, as long as you couldn't get it back again.
Yeah.
Or if you had both of them, they were dropped.
Yeah, if you just had one of them, it wouldn't help you out any. Bright Speedster is an Asgard vehicle. It's not as insanely broken, but it's still a pretty fucking powerful card. For one, it's an attachment. It's only for Asgard troopers, but they get a 9/9 bonus. So
+9/+9.
Yeah, and it allows your trooper to transport to any dimension without using a gate. So you can ignore the complexity of gates and figuring out how that shit works and just go straight to dimension.
And it is quite complex.
Yeah. Yep. There'll definitely be more on that, but it might be worth it just to not have to go through the headache of trying to figure out how to transport. Just build a deck around those bitches.
Yep. Ignore all that shit.
And that is the one ability that is appears on 5, 6, 7 different Asgard vehicles, and they're all phrased differently. One of them says allow movement, one of them says allow transport, one of them says move a trooper. These fucking guys couldn't figure out how they wanted to say anything.
That's funny. It's just the weekend design game. So
yeah, go. You got till Monday.
Yep.
Go crank this shit out.
It was Friday at 5:00 when we were told that.
A couple of gates that are pretty powerful. 4 gates. Kazuzu's Gate.
Kazuzu. That sounds kind of dirty.
For your chaos monsters, all of your creatures have an inherent ability that's not printed on the cards. Theirs is they can move 1 dimension either direction during the movement phase of your turn. So this gate allows them to move 2 dimensions. So this gives you more opportunity for jumping around to the dimensions you need to be on to control the right number to win the game.
And a victory condition, and one of them is to have all dimensions?
It's the number depends on the number of players in the game. So for 2 players, I think it's control 5 of the 6.
Gotcha. So in other words, yeah, you're trying to take over all the dimensions, different dimensions.
Yeah. Yep. So that one allows Chaos Monsters to move a little further. And then Pontus Gate, you can discard this to clear all the troopers off of any single dimension. So you can use it as a gate, or if you really need to blow a dimension up to keep them from winning the game, you can do that and sacrifice it. Emerald Tide is a power surge. It's a really powerful card drawing one. Everyone shuffles their hands into their draw pile and draw 7 new cards. 1 per deck, though, and 1 use per game.
Yeah, so you potentially is it 1 use per game for all players combined?
Doesn't clarify. Presumably.
Sure, it doesn't.
Yeah. Presumably, each player can do it once per game.
I would think
That would be my guess. It'd be really weird if you could use it first and then they can't use it in their deck.
Got it on cam.
Yeah, and of course, there's some things you just never be able to know about some of these games that never had tournament play and never had errata.
Right.
And and a modern solution would be what I just said, I think.
Yeah.
Each player would do it once.
Yeah.
But who knows what their intent was.
Yeah, no idea.
Or what they play tested, if they fucking play tested at all.
I'm guessing they didn't do a whole lot. And it was probably a drinking game, and they were probably drunk within the first 3 minutes.
So here's one, New Life. This is the last one on the list for now anyway.
Yeah.
It's a power surge. And this is one that combined with New Growth. But hell, they were leading you to water on that one.
Yep.
They wanted you to know those things work together.
New growth leads you to new life.
New Life, all players discard their hands and draw 5 new cards. Now, you can't be decked in Hyborian Gates, but if somebody is decked and they run out of cards, then you stop and right then you look to see who controls the most dimensions and you declare the victor at that time. So you can deck yourself with a combination of New Growth and New Life. You keep drawing cards and then New Growth, pick this back out, play it again, draw more until you dump your deck, dump your hand, and then the game ends. So if you're in the lead, you just end the game. You decide to kick off this infinite loop, but you'd have to have 2 New Growths and your New Life. So
Yeah, and the new life, is it all players or just you?
New Life is all players discard their hands and draw 5 new.
So your opponent's doing the same thing, but
Yeah.
they wouldn't be able to drop what's in their hand. They would just constantly just have that could be a benefit for them. They would have a handful of shit.
Yeah, they could be drawing something that they could
Yeah.
actually play, because again, with Power Surge saying at any time, you've got to figure out how the timing on this shit works. Can you do it in response? Can they interrupt your flow to play theirs? You'd almost have to let them. So they could be drawing something that would stop you.
Right.
Make
So
you discard your hand. Or
yeah, and that actually makes deck building a little better. Especially if you know somebody's going to be playing that, or you got to kind of assume people are going to be playing that.
Yeah, if they've looked at the master card list any at all, they should be playing this. If something isn't done to fix it. So
Yeah. Of course, we don't, I mean, me especially, Richard may know more, but I don't know all the different cards there are even in this game, and there may be more that could combo with some of the stuff that we don't even know about, or I don't know about at least. Maybe more influential.
Yeah, I think there are more. And these few we pulled out to talk about are not the only powerful cards in the game.
And it's a pretty big set, right? 400 or 500 cards.
Yeah, a lot of it's fluff and filler, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of bullshit in that card number. But yeah, the Power Surges is where most of your really cool shit's hiding at.
Well, there's a lot of bullshit in most Magic sets too. So yeah, most commons don't get played with.
Yeah, Hyborian Gates' worst sin on that is probably making gates that have no abilities. They just made 6 different gates with an ugly picture and no ability for the same faction. That's silly. But, that was just filler for the set.
Oh, and Gord, we forgot to tell you.
Oh yeah,
We're still on Mictors, Sphincter special.
we're still on some sphincters, buddy. All right, well, I think that's it for now. We're definitely going to be doing more on Hyborian Gates.
Yeah.
Talking more about combos and playing with some deck building.
Yeah, we're trying to transition a little more into actual game specifics and getting deeper into the actual games instead of a little less on the generalized content. So we'll see how this goes.
Yep. All right, well, shit. How we do then?
Good enough.
Yeah, buddy, we did. Motherfucker.